Before we can start making more advanced programs, we need to capture and store data in our programs. Java is known as a strict data typing language. That means that every variable that we define must be declared with a data type, and you cannot change the type of data stored in that variable. For example, if you declare a variable to store numbers, you cannot try to store letters in that same variable. Let's get started by reviewing the basic types of data we will encounter. The first is characters. The character data type allows us to store a single character, a single number, or a symbol. The syntax in Java is char, sometimes referred to as char or char, a variable name such as letter capital A, equals, single quotes, little a, single quotes, semicolon. Take particular notice of the single quotes. This is different than the literal or the strings we used before that had double quotes. Next, we have a variable type called Boolean, which is named after a famous mathematician, George Boole. It allows us to store a value of true or false. The Java syntax is bool, the variable name such as result, equals either true or false. We have several data types that are used for storing numbers. They include integer data types such as byte, short, int, and long. These data types are used for numbers that do not contain any fractional parts. For example, if you were counting the number of cars in a parking lot, you're not going to have a half a car. There are 4 different types of integers to store different sizes of numbers. The smallest one is the byte, which can hold signed values from minus 127 to positive 127, and unsigned values from 0 to 255. The short, the int, and long allow for much larger numbers. To store rational numbers, which are numbers that include a fractional portion, such as 1.75, we use float and double. For most of the exercises in these videos, I will be using int and double data types. Choose your data types carefully. For example, if you want to keep track of an hourly wage, it is important to capture the fractional portion of the number. If the hourly wage is $10.95 and you work 10 hours, you want to get paid $109.50. But if you store the hourly wage in an integer variable by mistake, you would only get paid $100 since the 95 cents would be lost. The data types we just discussed are called primitive data types. The other type of data is known as structured data, and we will discuss that when we get to classes and objects. Primitive data types store their values directly in memory with their variable names. Structured data is stored by reference, or by the address of the location in memory where the data exists. Let's think about a few more examples. I'll give you an example, and you tell me the correct data type. Again, how about the number of cars in a parking lot? If you said int, you're correct. Now, how about the price of a grocery item? This should be double or float, since it contains a decimal point. The vowel A. We use the data type of character, or char. The value true is Boolean, and the number of students in a classroom would be an integer. Again, you can't have half a student.